isn't here. This lineup.
Some student.
I heard Councilor.
I am calling this special meeting of Town of Gibsons Council to order on June 17th, 2025, 3:30 p.m. And we're honored to be gathered on the traditional territory of the Skohomish Nation. First, we need to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? All those in favor, the agenda is adopted. And we have some minutes to adopt from June 3rd, 2025. Moved by Councillor DeAndrade, seconded by Councillor Kroll. All those in favor? The motion carries. And now we have, it's that time of year when we're recognizing our youth representative to council because Melissa is graduating from Elphinstone next week officially, and so also graduating from Town of Gibsons. And I'm going to hand the mic to Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. This is a great privilege on my part. Back in 2018, I think some of you have heard this before, I was out door knocking with Bill Beamish, who ultimately became mayor that year, and I was angsting about the fact that youth in this community felt very disenfranchised. And in fact, a young fellow I know made a comment to me that municipal politics was just for old people like you. Young people are totally ignored. And that cut me to the quick. And I mentioned it to Mr. Beamish when we were door knocking. And lo and behold, in his inauguration address, he announced we would have a student on council. And we're actually very fortunate today because one of our first students on council, Sasha Stipik, is sitting in the room here. We had Sasha Stipik and Jason Lewis, and Sasha she'd been accepted to McGill in engineering, and then she won a very incredibly prestigious scholarship to the University of Victoria and studied engineering. And I don't think you could complete a circle in any better way. Sasha is now an engineering technician on the staff for the town of Gibsons. So she has gone full circle. Melissa, I'm not really sure what your future plans are going to be. I think we've talked about a few different things. It's been an absolute delight having you with us this year, and we can only wish you every success. I'm looking forward to being at the graduation on Tuesday evening, where I've been asked to present a couple of scholarships on behalf of other groups in the town. But this is a little token from us at the town of Gibsons. Hopefully you won't forget us. I got to address the graduating class in 2018 when Sasha graduated. And a comment I made at the time was, happiness isn't always found in the boardrooms on Bay Street. And there's some incredible jobs in your own community, as Sasha can now attest to. So we just wish you every success, and thank you so much for being with us this year. We've really appreciated. I like to think of it as seeing our community through the eyes of tomorrow, which is critically important. So thank you so very much, and wishing you every success.
Thank you, Councillor Kroll, and of course, thank you, Melissa, for your service to the town.
And just a follow-up. We're really looking forward to working with Louise next year. Both Councillor D'Andretti and I had the opportunity to interview the two students we were considering. And I think Louise is sort of chomping at the bit to get going. So I'm really looking forward to working with her in the coming year.
Administration reports. We are going to the Director of Infrastructure Services and 5.1 on the agenda to introduce a presentation from Recycle BC.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a staff report to accompany this, just a verbal report to introduce Recycle BC, providing some context for the presentation. Earlier in this year, there was a contract award for our solid and green waste collections. And during that discussion, there was some direction from council for staff to explore options for trying to find ways to divert contamination, to reduce the contamination in our solid waste stream, specifically diverting recycling ending up in the garbage collection. Staff had been previously contacted by Recycle BC with some interest in presenting to council the services that could be provided through that organization, and it seemed timely. So the thought was to hear from Recycle BC, have a conversation around that program, and that would help shape the report that we'll still be bringing forward to committee to discuss the diversion. With that, I'll turn it over to Tessa with Recycle BC.
Am I pointing it? You just have to push the button on the mic.
Wrong screen.
All right, you're giving us a presentation on the OCP update now, are you?
I'm ready.
Very
I'm
good.
ready. What is OCP? Official community plan, I think. Well, I can introduce myself. I'm Tessa. I'm from Recycle BC. I'm the manager of recycling collection. And this is my colleague Maya Rastanowska. She's the manager of stakeholder relations. And we're going to do a presentation on our program just to give you an overview, as well as the curbside recycling opportunity that we think might be a good fit for the town of Gibsons.
Andrew? Maybe she might be able to.
Andrew's also graduating, so thankfully he's still with us today because we need him.
I have it up right now. Is it a secondary display? Maybe just drag the
It's probably because that one's plugged in.
There we go. We see it now.
We got
Yay.
it. She dragged
Good, I
it.
was
Yeah.
gonna ask you if you had any good jokes to tell or
Yeah.
something.
Very laggy.
Just making sure this works. Okay, perfect. Hopefully all that goes away. We'll just leave it like this. Okay, so I already introduced myself. So this is just to talk to the town of Gibsons about the curbside recycling opportunity with Recycle BC. So who are we? Recycle BC is a non-for-profit organization that operates as the producer responsibility organization, often referred to as a PRO, that fulfills producers' requirements under BC's recycling regulation for residential packaging and paper. We launched in 2014, and last year we celebrated 10 years of impact as a full EPR program. And we are the first full EPR program in North America. We serve over 2 million households, which is about 99% of BC residents have access to our recycling programs. So we have a province-wide system. We have a standardized material list and service 196 communities via curbside and multifamily service. We'd love Gibsons to be the 197th curbside recycling municipality. We offer 227 depots to residents and over 50 retail locations accepting depot-only materials like flexible plastics and foam. And as you can see here, we also service 64 First Nations within the province. After collection and processing the material,
You want to just click on the next?
thank you.
This is why we're
We're a duo.
two-person team here.
After collection and processing, the material is sent to end markets to be transformed into new products. Through a concentrated effort, Recycle BC has shifted most of its end markets to North America, keeping 73% of material much closer to home. By comparison, at the start of the program, only 33% of material was being recycled by end markets in North America. Majority of our plastics are recycled in BC. Most of our fiber now remains in the Pacific Northwest, with several overseas end markets taking the remainder. Our metal containers are sold to end markets in BC, Ontario, and the United States, recycled into new packaging and sheet metal. And glass is sold to end markets in BC to be prepared to be made into new bottles such as jam jars, sandblast material, and construction aggregate. Okay, so we have 3 different primary types of collection. We have curbside collection from households like a single family home. We have multifamily collection from a central location in residents with 5 or more units. And we have depot collection where residents drop off their recycling material. So we wanted to highlight some of the key benefits of a curbside recycling program. So one of the main ones is it reduces solid waste entering the landfill, which kind of touches to what Trevor was speaking to about contamination in your other solid waste streams. So in 2024, the average annual material collection for municipalities similar in size to Gibsons was 220 tons for paper and container and 30 tons for glass. The convenience factor is really big with curbside recycling. We estimate that residents recycle 5 times more paper and containers and 1.5 times more glass are collected via curbside than a depot collection program. Recycle BC also takes care of the post-collection transportation and processing costs, moving the cost away from local governments. And again, as mentioned, curbside recycling will increase the amount of material collected that can then be made into new products, promoting circularity and the circular economy. Okay, so this is getting into the specifics a little bit of the options to the town of Gibsons. So we have several different types of material and container type collection options. You can go with single stream using an automated cart. So that's mixed containers and paper all going into the same bin. You can do single stream using collection container other than an automated cart. So that would be like a manual bin. The blue box, like our logo, is the most common. We have multi-stream collection where paper and cardboard need to be separate from mixed containers. New this year is flexible plastics collection, which also would need to be in its own container. And then we do have curbside glass as an option to be collected in a separate container from fiber or paper and containers. So you'll see the single stream, multi-stream, and the flexible plastics is a household payment, a curbside household payment per year for the applicable material. And then glass bottles and jars is paid per ton that you collect. So $80 per ton for glass. So here are some picture examples of the types of programs that you could have or that are out there currently. So we have the boxes and bags with multi-stream and then some automated carts here. We also provide financial top-ups, so this is an additional payment to support our collectors with resident education initiatives and administrative requirements. So this is also a payment per household per year, so $1.25 for resident education and $3.75 for service admin. We also do a significant outreach and education in-house. Through these efforts, 95% of residents across BC are aware of our packaging and paper recycling program. On the slide here, you can see Coach Rick Cycle, our mascot, if you will. These efforts help tremendously in reducing contamination and increasing our capture rate. So a little bit on the post-collection side. So Recycle BC will provide a designated post-collection facility for in-scope curbside material delivered. And we will cover the post-collection costs like transportation and the processing of the material. The post-collection facility will be within 60 kilometers from the service area boundary, and we will confirm the post-collection facility no less than 30 days before service commencement. So I wanted to touch a little bit on contamination as well, because it is important. So materials collected may not contain more than 5% by weight of not accepted materials. Depending on the collection model, there are thresholds for cross-contamination. That would be, for example, glass being put into the paper stream would be considered cross-contamination. Financial penalties may apply if material is delivered that exceeds the contamination thresholds. And just for a little bit of context, multi-stream manual collection programs tend to have lower contamination than single-stream automated cart programs. The contamination is just much easier to identify in smaller boxes where the driver is getting out and actually able to see what's in the box. On the flip side of contamination, if you have good contamination, we do reward you with a bonus. So if the contamination is under 4%, then we will pay you a per household rate for that good contamination, those good contamination levels under 4%. Okay. So that was very brief. The next steps, if the town of Gibsons was interested in having a curbside recycling program with Recycle BC, would to confirm their interest to join the Recycle BC program in writing, complete a transition and implementation plan 6 months before service commencement, complete an onboarding information gathering form, review and sign the master service agreement and curbside statement of work, which is our 2 standard agreements. And curbside recycling service can commence approximately 90 days after execution of the MSA and SOW. And that's all I had for you. Thank you so much for your time. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, council? Councillor DeAndrade.
I think my question is more like trying to understand how the whole program will operate here, but I wonder if I believe we are sympathetic to this, is a report will come to council with more details, right?
I don't quite understand. A report's coming to council. I know that much, yeah. I don't know about the sympathetic word, but.
Through the mayor, yeah, we would report and we could provide some detail and get into the specifics about what the cost would be to the town for implementing this, and that would be part of the report that would bring forward on the options for diverting waste from the collection stream.
Okay, another question? Yeah, I could ask too. But.
Yeah, obviously one of my concerns was the contamination, right? Who pays? Is the town of Gibsons or is the individual household that would pay for the contamination?
With the town of Gibsons would have an agreement with Recycle BC. So in that statement of work, there would be those contamination thresholds. And so that would be the city to pay a fine if it was levied against you. And then you can do whatever you'd like in terms of the residents, if it's a specific household, bylaw infractions, things like that. Different municipalities do different things with contamination.
I'll ask about the depot. I thought somebody else would. I'll do it. Our impression, Recycle BC has all the info on our depot. It's a Recycle BC programs. So our impression is it has a high participation rate, great contamination levels, and there's a lot of community support behind it. So this could be a very complex question, but what is the impact on depot programs, maybe even if you look at comparable communities where curbside's been implemented, and there's a depot with a high participation rate. And of course, our depot also has, I'm forgetting the name now too, but a lot of other opportunities to recycle too. There's an electronics program, of course. There are all kinds of things like even pens and batteries and smoke alarms and things that are on top of the Recycle BC services. So we'd be very concerned about the fate of our depot, of course, and maybe including the ramifications of if people were getting used to just curbside collection, maybe they wouldn't go to the depot anymore, and like there's kind of a balance of perhaps waste diversion would be good in terms of the curbside collection, but then they'd stop taking other objects that aren't collected at the curbside to the depot, and those would end up in the landfill. So those are the kind of concerns I think our council would have. Now he wants to talk. Okay, I thought he would ask this question, so I'll ask that first, but and then we'll probably have a follow-up from other councillors. Yeah.
Sure, do you want me to answer a little bit first? Okay. So we wouldn't have any plans of stopping the Recycle BC service that's currently at the Gibsons depot, because it services way outside the community of Gibsons. It services, regional district electoral areas as well. So I don't think that would be a major concern for us in terms of having high participation in the curbside program and then feeling the need to, for some reason, close the depot. Most programs that start, you might not start with glass and flexible plastics at the curb, so that would still encourage, hopefully, residents to go to the depot to recycle flexible plastics and glass if that's not something you want to start right away at the curb. So those are two things. I think just the convenience factor, I know it would definitely reduce the amount of Recycle BC material that gets accepted at the Gibsons depot, but I think you would collect a lot more material and it would likely divert a lot of material from your garbage and organics just purely out of the convenience of it, and we've seen that in the numbers.
Go to Councillor Lumley.
To Mayor, I knew exactly who you're talking about when you referenced that, but I guess my question wasn't really for Recycle BC, because it was that you're just kind of reporting to us your service and how it works and how successful it is, but I could only imagine, and I guess my question would be, my only question might be for staff, is that, like, it would be the same as, not that it's the exact same, but I think the numbers might even be greater, that when we first started our organics program, people immediately wanted to opt out of it because they already had composting facilities in their yard and so on and so forth like that. I can only imagine that people in Gibsons, because the depot is so, I don't know what the word is, well used. Yeah, I was going to say popular, but I could only imagine that, and I don't know how that would affect the program, or I guess it wouldn't. It would just affect the town, but I'm sure that'll be included in the report. But I can only imagine that people would, a large number of people would opt out of it, out of the curbside collection, and then based on we're such a small community, I guess maybe my question for you is, there a threshold, if half the town says, yeah, you know what, I don't want to pay $80 I'm just going to keep taking my recycling up to the recycling depot. What does that? How might that affect the Recycle BC program in our community?
Right. So in terms of eligibility for the town of Gibsons, we feel you're about 5,000 residents now, and that's our threshold for curbside programs. So that would be our threshold, regardless of who decides to opt in and opt out. That can be internal on who's opting in and opting out, and if that's worth it for you, or if you think that is a good program that residents would like. So we wouldn't really look too heavily at your participation rates, but that might be important to you. You know, if half your residents do not want the service, then that's definitely something to consider. Yeah, but we would not look at that. And the intention of the Recycle BC program is to shift the costs away from residents and the local government. So our goal is to have, you know, the least amount of cost put onto the residents for this new type of program, if any.
I'll just add to Tessa's answer that our program is funded by over 1,100 businesses that supply packaging and paper to consumers in BC. So they are obligated under environmental regulation to pay into and responsibly manage and recycle the products they put into the economy. And so we dissolve that obligation for them on behalf of them. And that's why we're the not-for-profit that manages this material responsibly on their behalf. So it's the businesses that are really picking up the tab here, and so it's kind of alleviating costs for homeowners and local governments.
Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White, through you. You mentioned the businesses that pick up the tab. Does the Recycle Depot not benefit from those subsidies as well?
Yeah, they do as well. So they're part of our depot program and have a depot statement and work with us and receive an incentive rate for the material they collect by ton. So a little bit different. They're receiving an incentive rate per ton of material, and a curbside program would be getting paid per household that's receiving the service per year.
Councillor Lemley.
Okay, a follow-up question, I guess. Would the general person, like me, I would just expect that if the companies are paying for this, it must just be flowing through on the price of my goods from that company. Is that not, so it actually will cost everybody something? Is that not the case, or am I just, I don't know, do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, they already are.
Okay, so,
I mean, it's not like they're gonna jack up their prices in Gibsons just because we accept this program. They already have.
we're already paying for them?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. That's fair.
Is that right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
pretty much every municipality around your size of 5,000 residents has a curbside program at this point.
And this regulation is provincial, so every province has a different regulation, but you're right, like it's probably like pennies to the dollar of that cost that's embedded in products that are being sold. But at the end of the day, producers, we call them producers, it's the companies that are obligated to pay to responsibly manage this. It's becoming more and more popular. In the United States, more states are implementing this regulation. We're very successful in running this program, so we have state senators visiting British Columbia and coming and talking to us to see how we run the program efficiently and effectively. So this is a growing movement and trend, not just in household packaging and paper, but in other products. And that's why you see batteries and electronics and household paint. These are all separate programs similar to Recycle BC, where the producers of those products have a responsibility to recycle those products, and not-for-profits do it on their behalf.
Councillor DeAndretti.
Yeah, one of my concerns with the program is just because of the nature that does not collect everything, and people will have to go to the depot regardless. And then, I mean, if I'm going to the depot anyways, why do I want to pay for the program? So, and then there's another thing about the carbon footprint. If people have to drive anyways, it would be nice to have even this in the report, Mayor, because I'm not saying that this is a great program, but it's just the fact that I would like, if this program could collect everything that our depot collects, that would be ideal, because then people can really opt out. And then people socialize there too. It's a big hub for socialization. So let's.
Yeah, you're almost getting really close to all materials being accepted at the curb with the addition of flex this year. So foam, white and colored foam would be the only two materials that you could not collect at the curb at this point. But you can do flex, glass, the paper, and containers.
Electronics?
No, that's a separate program.
So we're doing residential, paper, and packaging. So yes, for other EPR programs or recycling programs, residents would go to the depot still in many cases.
We do spend quite a bit of time educating and promoting our program and making sure that residents understand what our program accepts and what it doesn't. So Councillor, to your point, you'd wish our program collected everything. I think in a perfect world that would be amazing, but unfortunately we can't. So especially hazardous materials like batteries, we have a lot of campaigns raising awareness to residents and asking them to not recycle batteries, not throw them in their blue bins, because that's a fire hazard, for instance. So we are very keen and aware of how we promote our program and make sure that the message is kind of loud and clear in our material of what's accepted and what's not.
I mean, I think this will probably be touched on more in the report we get, but I think another question we'd have is if the depot's still going through the regional district, we're charged through the solid waste function for the depot, and those costs are significant. So just the recycling function at the regional district is significant. So that would continue. And we'd also be taking on the curbside collection through Recycle BC, but just directly with the town, I think is what we'd be looking at.
Yeah,
Correct?
and then
Yeah.
receiving a household payment per year for that, to provide that service from us.
Okay.
Yeah, so you would receive a payment from us.
And is it quarterly?
No, we pay monthly, but you can update your household count of who's being, what residents are being serviced quarterly with us.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll find out more when Director of Infrastructure Services prepares his report. Yeah, go to him.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to say that this, I appreciate the conversation. This will certainly be really valuable. The questions, teasing them out now, will help us better address or provide a better report in the future for the options. So I appreciate the discussion. And thanks for the time as well.
Thank you.
Thank
you so
Thank
much
you for
your
coming.
time.
Thank you.
And item 5.2 is a planning item, Heritage Revitalization Agreement Proposal for a Stonehurst property. And I will go to the planning department for that.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my turn to struggle with the display. I have that town. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was stuck in an old presentation. I think I'm okay. Good. There we go. Sorry, bear with me. All right. Thank you. Yeah, so the purpose of this report is to give of this presentation is to give an overview of the Heritage Revitalization Agreement proposal that we've received for the Stonehurst property at 529 Gibsons Way, and to seek council's direction on next steps. The applicant is here with us. We have Fritz de Vries Architecture, who is the project architect and the owner of the property, Babek. And they'll follow with a presentation after mine that focuses on the design, whereas I'll just introduce the process and what we're asking of council. So this is the first Heritage Revitalization Agreement application that we've received at the town. So if you've never heard of it, that's expected. And a Heritage Revitalization Agreement is a bylaw and a negotiated agreement. And this HRA proposal would allow residential development on the property in exchange for legally securing, restoring, and maintaining the historically significant Stonehurst residence as a heritage building. So the agreement would allow an 18-unit residential addition on the upland portion of the lot. That's just one level of the floor plan shown on that slide. The Stonehurst residence would be restored and repurposed as a heritage inn and tea room, with the building registered on the BC Register of Historic Places upon completion. The heritage value of Stonehurst is recognized in both the local inventory and the detailed conservation plan by Don Luxton and Associates. Sorry, that should be the heritage inventory. But this sorry, wrong name, but anyway, there's a statement of significance, that's what I'm trying to come up with. This is provided in attachment A to the report, and Stonehurst's significance, heritage significance is associated with Dr. Frederick Inglis, who is the area's first physician who ran a clinic out of the lower floor of the residence. It's also an example of pre-World War I development in Gibsons, and it's considered an excellent example of the craftsman style of architecture. So a heritage revitalization agreement supersedes zoning and land use regulations. Nonetheless, this proposal aligns with the use and density that is supported in the OCP designation of residential tourist accommodation. The density falls between the minimum FSR and the units per hectare targets in the OCP, which are somewhat contradictory, and that reflects the smaller unit sizes in the proposal. 19 parking stalls are proposed for the 18 apartments and 6 guest rooms, including 4 accessible spaces. And this is less than the bylaw standard and mitigated to an extent by the closeness to transit and landing amenities. Key components of the conservation plan include lifting the building. This would be the actual the Stonehurst building would be suspended for the construction of an underground parking lot beneath, while protecting the structural integrity of the building. Restoration of exterior heritage features, including the original facades and materials, and seismic code and accessibility upgrades as required. The new residential building is designed as a contemporary complementary structure connected by a sky bridge at the rear of the property for safe fire egress from the historic building. So council's asked to provide direction on whether to proceed with drafting an HRA bylaw for consideration that would come forward for 3 readings and a public hearing, and whether to require a public information meeting ahead of the public hearing just to put out information to the public about what's being decided. I've included in the recommendations optional design or agreement provisions such as securing public access, interpretive signage, and heritage colors based on feedback from BC Transit, the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society, and Sunshine Coast Tourism, for example. So staff recommend proceeding to the next steps in the HRA process, recognizing this is a significant opportunity to secure long-term heritage protection, deliver compatible new housing, and align with council's strategic plan goal to support preservation of the Stonehurst site. So thank you. I'm happy to answer questions before or after we hear from the architect team.
Before or after? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So does anyone have any questions directly for our planning department then? Okay, Councillor D'Andretti.
Thank you. Yeah, really excited. That's something I think the council is pursuing for a while, so that's good news. One thing that I'm having a hard time understanding, I get the Heritage Revitalization Committee supersedes the DPA guidelines when you talk about Stonehurst, but I don't get it should not be applicable to the whole development. And I understand that this development really falls into, so it's not really completely going away from our DP guidelines, but it's just this statement. It just says, as the development form and characters is largely outlined in the HRA, and the HRA supersedes the DPA guidelines, the additional form and character details to be addressed through a DP would be minor. I understand with regards to Stonehurst, but it doesn't make sense to me to be applied to the whole complex.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, my understanding, we're learning the process, and we'll keep learning more as we go into the draft bylaw as well. But my understanding is that the agreement is designed to be sort of a trade-off. It's designed to give some allowances that might not otherwise be given because you're also getting the heritage revitalization. So the agreement can contain, it's registered to the title, it can contain sort of all of the terms that we agree on as a town. So I believe it would if we have the DP area, which would apply to the entire site, but if there's pieces in the agreement, like we have the design of the addition in the agreement, and there's drawings of that, and we've agreed to it, that would supersede the development permit requirements. So if we also have the development permit, it shouldn't change anything that's been agreed to in the DP, or sorry, in the heritage, the HRA.
But may I follow up? But just understanding, because when I read form and character, it almost feels like, okay, we cannot provide any input. That's not the case. Whatever we agree and is written in the agreement that's set in stone that's okay.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Emily.
Yeah, I have a couple questions through the mayor. First question's really easy. Did we approach the developer with this idea, or did the developer approach the town with this idea?
It's in our strategic plan. I mean, I think it was pretty clear coming out of the last decision, the last application that happened. But I don't, did we have an actual motion that came out of that? I mean, either way, I think it was just pretty clear from that decision that, but I'll see if, I don't know if it matters, but we'll redirect that question to staff.
Okay, I'll give you, just the context of the question is that, I think follow up on, Councillor DeAndretti's, like, it seems like, I know we went back and forth on the previous development, and this seems like when I first read this report, it's like, this is a totally new development, right? Like, it does not mirror the last development at all. So, yeah, I was just thinking, okay, like, is this a better way, or is this an easier path to get the development done based on the agreement? So that's kind of like where my head was at when I read the report. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or it's a good, I'm trying to kind of understand. So, you know, I'm just, yeah.
I mean, I speak for the will of council. So, I mean, so I have to interpret the will of council. I think unquestionably the will of council coming out of the last application was that we wanted preservation of the building to be foremost, heritage conservation of the building to be the most important aspect of any future of that property. And the way forward on that is to allow development, typically to allow development of the rest of the property in order to achieve that. And that was in our strategic plan to preserve Stonehurst. So that was definitely our direction. And I guess staff can elaborate a bit on that. So I'll go to planning.
Yeah, one piece I didn't include in this summary is that the previous application had the land exchange agreement or the use of town land incorporated, and that was a sticking point in the last discussion, and that was removed from this proposal as a new proposal, not involving town land.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the comments that was in the report was Stonehurst, securing the long-term use of Stonehurst as a heritage inn. How does that differentiate from what it would be as presented? What's the difference between the two? I'm not understanding the preservation of heritage inn aspect.
Right, that was the recommendation from Sunshine Coast Tourism.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So yeah, why is that a separate recommendation as something over and above what we're already doing here?
Thank you for that clarification. I think what they're getting at in the recommendation is that within the terms of the agreement, we should include that it continue to be an inn so that there's not ambiguity about that, not just preserving the building, but also the use.
Other questions for staff before we get to the presentation from the architect? I know you don't like, yeah, but I'll go with Councillor DeAndretti. Yeah.
Perhaps could be answered later, but it's just that when I look at the revitalization agreement when it comes to, sorry, when I look at the heritage revitalization agreement, when I look at the colors, it seems that it was swapped. It just, I don't know if it was an accident or maybe I misunderstood. The board and bait and sidings are green, while it should be the yellow, that's my understanding. And the exterior windows and door trims. So anyways,
Is
this is just.
is this a question for our staff, or?
Well, staff, because the staff put the report here, so I'm just trying to clarify the color, because there's also discuss of the
Let's wait.
regional color.
Let's, come on up, Fritz. Yeah.
Thank you.
A good question, but I think it would be better to be informed by the actual architect first.
This is Jerry. This is Fritz, and this is Jerry. And so, yeah, we have a short presentation, which is more to kind of give an overall view of the project, not any specifics. And we just go through some slides, so to speak, or renderings. So the first rendering is, you'll never really see it like this. It's a bit of a bird's eye view. It shows on the left side the driveway. The driveway is as wide as it has to be, for emergency vehicle access. On the left side, you see this planting up the retaining wall. There's two garages. They have garage doors. They look like a normal residential door. On the right side, there is the stalls below Stonehurst. And there's an elevator right behind Stonehurst that connects to provide accessibility. And in the back, there is a second garage. The garage floors are completely level and access the building in the back. Then you see the terrace up front, which is at the lower level. On the lower level, you see the modest existing door and the window placement. That's the same as in the Heritage Inn. And initially, we liked to have some more windows there, but we took them out and said, okay, no, we leave it the way it is. The lower floor on the unit that you see on the left side, that can be a fully accessible suite for wheelchair access and all that, and the same on the right side. Those two are deeper existing units. On the upper floor, that is not possible. Maybe go behind there, you see building A from the approved Billy's Walk development in a shaded color. These we show purposely in more or less the existing colors for Anna Marie Andrade, because that comes directly out of the report from Donald Luxton. And as you can see from that gray photograph, historic photograph, and we are fully aware of that, is that in the past there were different colors. And it's not that difficult for them to find the old colors. It has a lot to do with what was available at the time. And they think it was either a dark green or a dark red, because they were the cheapest colors that you could buy, but it's probably somewhere hidden under the existing. And then the Heritage Society, the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society has commented on that. And if you go to the report from Kirsten, it's on page 16 is kind of the requirements that need to be fulfilled, as endorsed by you in this meeting, more or less. And that is one of them, actually. So the colors would be sorted out between Donald Luxton and the Gibsons Harbor Heritage Society, and I think they prefer the old colors. I'm not saying if the public likes it more or less, but it is from a heritage point of view the way to go. Okay, so the next slide, maybe.
And we also removed the skylights.
Oh yeah, we removed the skylights. Fred English was very happy with that, because the skylights have irritated him for years. This is just a different view. Behind there, you see the top floor of the added residential building. The design, the Heritage Committee, sorry, it's not a committee, the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society likes the way the building is done in the back. They're quite positive about it, because it's modest. It doesn't try to compete with the existing inn. And as you can see in this design, maybe the next slide, you can see more. It's actually a good one. What I like about the left one is all these kids hanging from the railing before there was any building codes in place, I guess. And then the right side is how the color scheme is now. And what Don Luxton had chosen for now is little change, but he converted those colors in heritage colors, because there's a list of heritage colors that you can kind of not, let's say, choose from if you want heritage colors, and that's an ongoing process.
We will take a look at it.
Yeah, okay. So then the next one, you just carry on. This is the proposal. The windows are basically unchanged. It's very much the same. And what we're trying to do with this design, that the Stonehurst as a building is as much as visible from all sides the way it is. North, south, east, west, all of them. The next slide. We show this one floor plan, and the reason is that in the dashed box that Jerry's just outlining, that's where the two buildings come together, so to speak. The blue is the existing floor plan, and you see where the seats are. That is the little, we call it the breakfast area, and the entry to Stonehurst. The upper right is the stairs from Gibsons Way towards Stonehurst, and from an accessibility point of view, that's not perfect, but we have to leave things the way they are. Then you get the second set of stairs going up to the porch, and then you're in Stonehurst itself. Now, if from an accessibility point of view, if you drive up the driveway, there is a lobby between the two buildings at that level where Jerry's driving now. So under there you get in, and then you see the first elevator on the top there, the shared elevator there. That is the elevator that you access with the sky bridge and by crossing the courtyard. The courtyard is at the same level as the at the breakfast facility, and the level above, there's really small rooms that sit on the roof. They are just accessed with accessibility, but the sky, what's the name? The sky bridge. The sky bridge connection is mostly there for fire exiting. And that is we will have an alternative solution for the building code, and for that purpose, the building code consultant would be retained to provide a report that the proposal as submitted meets or exceeds the building code requirements. So this is a section. So the line that you see at front, the grade up front, maybe follow the existing grade of the, so Jerry is now following the existing grade of the parking lots, and so if you're, this is the existing grade at the property line between lot 23 and lot 22. So then you see that part of the building is below that. There are parkades below that, and there's one floor level of residential also below it. And for the official community plan, because we noticed that from a previous application, that we have to be low in height at the top and low at height at the bottom. So the bottom, we have Stonehurst as an attractive low building. At the top, that is where the pathway that connects, that the proposed pathway that is approved in Billy's Walk, connecting South Fletcher towards Seaview, that is right behind the building, kind of where you see that tree, and then you go by a 2.5 story building. This is again a bird's eye view. You never see it like that. It's more here for clarity. But the planting that you see at the rear, that is above the second garage, and then you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floor levels there. But above grade, it is 4. And it's kind of stepping up. The massing is done to make it look as interesting from a massing point of view. And you see that little courtyard there where these two people are sitting. That's just in between the Stonehurst and the added building at the main level where the breakfast area is. So this is, again, a bit of a bird's eye view. You see the lot 23, zoned commercial, owned by Gibsons. And then behind what rises out of the ground, at the very left, at the top, is building E from Gibsons Way. And again, in between there, you see the pathway that connects South Fletcher to Seaview. This is the section, we added that section. The town came back with some concerns or some questions how high the retaining wall is between the driveway from Stonehurst and your lot at 23. And so the line here that you see at the top, is the top of the town's parking lots. And for putting in the parking lots, the town had significantly changed the natural grade. So we're now not following natural grade, we're following the grade that has been created by the town of Gibsons. And then the line below is our driveway. The driveway is 11%, which is a very gentle driveway. You know, if you have a driveway to get for your house, then it looks flat. But it's very close to meeting, like in the past, 10% would be accessible, and this is 11%. We can do better than that, but everything that you enter is fully level. The light gray color is if you would stand behind the light gray color that you see between the two lines, that is the height of the retaining wall as seen from the Stonehurst side. There was also questions about the engineering. Of course, the whole building, the geotechnical, the structural, it all kind of fits together, so that would be all done at the same time as a requirement for the building permit application. We have a geotechnical engineer. The aquifer has been prepared. The report will come in based on all the testing that has been done on all these lots, you know. This is more like to show the context, you know, how it is surrounded by the proposed path connections and the green space of Billy's Walk. And then what we did here too, in this graphic, the light base color at the bottom along School Road, those are your two parking lots. And then the green on the right side is what is now called English Park. Then we prepared for this meeting another graphic, maybe this one. This one I just kind of drew this morning because there was a question that how can you get a nice connection, a pedestrian connection between the rainbow crosswalks and to Stonehurst itself. And I always thought it would be nice if it would be some like a heritage-themed pathway, something that connects the heritage from Stonehurst directly to the town, to the village. This is not a real proposal, but what it does show is that everything that's white with the parking lots on it, that is zoned commercial. And there's no certainty about the future. If the town may make some of it park or maybe put a commercial use on it, we don't know. The sliver on the right side between Gibsons Way and English Park, which is colored green, that is actually the part of English Park that sits on the street. Because Gibsons Way, and you probably know that, but Pioneer Park, you see that sticking out. It doesn't stick out in reality. So part of Pioneer Park is Gibsons Way, and part of Gibsons Way is English Park. So that part that we are called green, that actually is part of the road allowance from Gibsons Way. It's not part of Lot 23, and we thought that in coordination with the request from BC Tourism and from TransLink, that something could be there that meets all their requirements. They also said that the bus stop would probably a little bit higher up Gibsons Way. It may be in front partially of Building A from Billy's Walk and partially in front of Stonehurst. This was my understanding, of course. Also, what Bond Engineering has done the traffic plans for Billy's Walk, and we will ask Babak at that time to ask Bond Engineering to proceed. In that report, they also recommended the 30K maximum speed. And I said to Babak, when we enter the town, you have to go down to 30K. So do you have more slides? Or this is kind of it for you too? Yeah, this was just the introduction, and we thought for the rest, it's more answering questions. And we have, Jerry has prepared, basically we have all our renderings with us. So if you have any questions, we can pull up renderings. We have all the floor plans on the computer. What else do we have there?
Whatever you need.
There you go.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mary. Is there a rendering that would show how you enter through, it looks like stairs, into that sort of outdoor patio area that's right there?
On the right here.
Yeah. Okay, perfect, yeah.
Yeah, so there is a stair there, but this one is widened to give a dedicated pedestrian entry that directly leads you into the heritage building. At the moment, it's actually a bit convoluted. You go up the existing driveway, which is much steeper. It's much too steep for access for the public, right? And you kind of swing around. It's very narrow. And the old entry from the doctor's office was actually facing the driveway. So that was kind of the main entrance, and you would just walk around to the stairs there. Yeah.
Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, I was pretty much, I like the last one too. I like this one. I mean, I know it's like it's a presentation with it isn't really focused on the building. It's more about the heritage of the house itself and not on the development behind it. But it just, like, when I looked at it, it looks like Gotham City behind there, right?
Excuse me?
It like, it's really gray.
We're talking to the architect, right?
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really gray, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that was just because we're focused on this building and like let's gray out everything else. And then I did like one of the comments from the Heritage Society was one of the guys said attractive neutral, and I went, is that an oxymoron? Like, but anyways, and the proposed Billy's Walk I thought was quite inviting and colorful and for the area. And I know the town's been talking about that over and over again. But I don't know if you have any pictures but it's just gonna be gray. Is that the idea?
So
I think, so I'll,
Sorry, I'm just,
I'll share, but
he
yeah,
asked to, so that's through you, but
oh yeah, no,
you said he wants to ask questions, they have renderings, I mean, sorry, I look at a picture of something and I want it to look good, like, that's just a question I have, that's all.
yeah. No, that's fine. I'm actually supporting your question because I wanted to, I wanted to elaborate on it a bit before Fritz answered. I think this is like, and I've talked to planning department about this too, it's like kind of a fundamental discussion for the town is like heritage colors, and like sometimes the interpretation is more neutral colors. And I hear that from the Heritage Society sometimes in some of the materials they've submitted, is that actual heritage colors for Gibsons, maybe not for Lunenburg, are pretty neutral, are pretty natural. Natural is the word that's often used. They're kind of, they're browns and they're grays and they're not like the popping primary exciting colors that I think this I hear over and over again from this council considers to be more what they're looking for in character. So there is, I just want to identify that bit of a conflict in town dialogue about colors, because it's been ongoing this whole term. Is that sometimes when people are talking about heritage colors and the colors they want to see downtown, they are talking about browns and natural colors and those, like I think Fritz identified in his report, is like some of these older colors, they were the only colors that could actually they were accessible. Whereas I think there's a lot of talk from this council about actually we want to see more bright colors. So I'll go to vibrant colors. Yeah.
Yeah. So the design that you see is very much based on contrast. Like if you look at the light gray, you look at the white, you look at the darker colors. So it's actually vibrant from that point of view. The Heritage Society likes it because of the background. It doesn't take anything away from Stonehurst. So Stonehurst, the idea is that on all three sides, it stands there proud. As you know, in Billy's Walk, we actually pushed Building A back to make sure that it would be 10 times more, 100 times more visible than now. If you now go down Gibsons Way, you can hardly see it. So that was the intent, and they like it because it doesn't compete. I also remember from the last discussions with council about colors, about Billy's Walk, and the mayor, I think, was strongly in favor of more color, which we did at Billy's Walk, and of course, when the building permit applications would come in, which are obviously delayed now, but then that can be more emphasized. Here, we didn't want it to be, and the Heritage Committee society doesn't want it to be a building that has all the heritage colors, because it's not a heritage building, but that's behind. They like it that we don't make it super modern, that it competes, that as people go there, they have to go there because they want to see and enjoy Stonehurst. And so the building behind does that. And we think if you look at the whole building, it doesn't look like one big building. It's purposely, the massing is emphasized by dark and light. Now, is that dark, is that a really dark brown, or is it a dark gray, or what is it? But, we also for a while had a dark green in it, because we thought it would really blend in nicely with the park. And so I don't know if the colors have to be totally fixed now, but I think what I said gives a background, I remember that when we're trying to figure out what is the form and character of the existing town, and what we concluded is that it's not the buildings. The buildings are not that special. It isn't like you walk here and it's full of heritage buildings. It is that combination of the awareness of what's around in Gibsons, like the harbor and the mountains and everything else, and it is the variety, actually, the variety in color and the variety in all of that. But if we would do that behind here, we would probably draw a lot of attention away from Stonehurst. So we're actually modest. We don't necessarily want to be modest. You know what I mean? If as architect, you'd maybe like to push it further.
I've got some more questions. Councillor Kroll's next, and then Councillor Andretti.
Thank you, Mayor White. I realize basically the thrust of this meeting we're having today is with respect to the heritage revitalization aspect of this project, and not, the trim color of the windows on the second floor. But my question is a bit of a logistical question. So I've booked 2 of the rooms at the inn, and I arrive in my car. Where do I park before I have access to the garage? Like, presumably one has to park, find your way to wherever you're going to register for the inn. Where do I park?
Well, of course, people have reservations, and there's parking available, and the reservation desk will assign you a stall. So the idea is that you can drive in, and there's a lobby, a shared lobby. Maybe if you get that floor plan out. So between where that little person is standing at the end in front of the garage door, there's a second entry there to the building. And can you get your cursor there? Yeah. Maybe show the front door there from the lobby. Yeah. So at that level, at the end of the slope of the driveway, everything is flat there. You can get out of the car, you go into the lobby, and then the elevator and stair are there, but there it's also connected, as you can see, to, that's connected to the lower floor. You go up 1 level and you're connected to the main floor.
I think the answer is people park in the driveway for that 10 minutes or so that they need to check in.
That's what I'm perceiving. I would just temporarily block the driveway till I got in to get access to the underground parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody may do that for sure, but the idea is that you don't. Yeah.
Councillor D'Andretti.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, my concern was parking too. And I understand that there's a council could support a study. But my concern is, this is a very pristine area. I almost doubt that someone would buy an apartment here and will not have a car. So I almost feel there's 18 apartments with 19 spots. So there will be only 1 spot for guests. And not even talking about the public. I get the public can park on the street, and I understand there's available parking lot. But this parking lot is used by bigger vehicles, working vehicles and so on. Perhaps on specific times at night will be available, but it just concerns me. I mean, if I come to a place that I have no idea if I'm going to have a parking, you know what I mean? During the peak season where it's very hard to find parking in town, how the inn can be successful in this regard.
Yeah, so we're conscious that it would be nice that there's more stalls, for sure. But we expect that this will be a managed parking facility, so that, I don't know exactly how to explain that, but if with today's technology, it should be possible that a stall doesn't stand empty. And if you go to apartment buildings, there's lots of stalls that are standing empty, right? So the idea that it's managed and that this is not fully decided, but this is what we're considering, is that if you have a unit there and if you're not there, that you can actually make that available to the inn or the other way around. But it is what we believe we should do is have a parking management proposal, and then you can take a look at that. So that a stall, if you're in an apartment building, you probably noticed how many stalls are not used. They're just standing empty. So that if a person can put their stall let's say in the pool, you know what I mean, and that it can be used by somebody who visits the inn, the front desk will know that in advance. So the idea is that the 19 stalls function better than 19 stalls normally do. That's the intent.
Follow up.
Thank you. So if I own an apartment there, I come at night, so maybe all the stalls are busy, so I will have to find parking, street
The idea is
parking?
that sorry.
Go ahead, Babak. Come up to the mic, though.
Is that okay? Or?
Yeah, we need it for online.
I'll hold that. So the idea is if we were to have, let's say, 19 parking spaces available to the residences, we would perhaps have an online feature or an app where you could, if you're leaving and you know that you're going to be away for, let's say, 2-3 days, you would have that parking space made available to the inn via online or on an app, so that the inn would, in return, pay you the same fee that maybe they would charge the guests at the inn, and that parking space would become available to them when they are away. So it would just be a parking management type of a service or technology that would be offered. So it's not that when you return, your parking is not going to be there. You would know in advance, and you would make that parking space available to the inn because you know that you're going to be away and not using it.
Thank you.
So that's just one of the ways that we're trying to resolve that issue. Yeah.
Are you asking about parking still? Because I've got Melissa too.
Yeah,
We'll follow up on parking
I just wanted
first,
to ask the mayor if we could just, somehow not get too deep into the parking. And we have to get consistent because, one day we're approving a 50% reduction in parking, and then the next day we're saying there's not enough parking. And they have a parking stall for every unit. So, and the app, I guess what was just explained, sounds awesome to me. So I might give up my car and give the hotel the use of my spot for, you know what I mean? Like that would encourage even less cars. But I just wanted to just say to the mayor that we have to have some consistency in the parking, like what we ask one person and what we don't. Seems like there's adequate parking to me. So anyway.
I'll go to Melissa.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a general question. If the aspect is to preserve the heritage of the building, I was wondering why it's attached with a skywalk to an apartment building rather than just standing solitary.
Yeah. So the reason for that. Sorry, the reason for that is that the building, Stonehurst itself lacks any form of fire exiting. It doesn't meet any building code, so to speak. And so even with so each level needs to have safe exiting. The existing stair, the comment that we came back from the building inspector here, is that that stair absolutely doesn't meet the code, and at least that will need to be addressed. But that's already difficult. just to get the normal, like if you see the kind of winding threads and risers, that doesn't meet the code one bit. It's nice from a heritage point of view because that's the way it is. So the first thing we realized is that it needs really to have good fire exiting. The lower floor is easy because you can just run out. The top floor, these are small rooms, and the idea is to keep the old rooms that are there, so that Skybridge allows you to run or to walk towards that staircase for the fire exiting. And the reason why we don't attach it to the building, in a previous version, we had the staircase and the elevator attached to Stonehurst, but it really changed the whole building. It's large. And we couldn't make it work with the circulation in the upper floor. It's really, those rooms are really cute, and we think they will be highly appreciated by guests, but meeting the building code is really challenging.
So any councillor would have some, please, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. With respect to the accessibility considerations, can you speak to that, please? I didn't see it noted further in the report, but I imagine the recommendation has been considered already.
Well, the report asks for one accessible suite, right? That means it's fully accessible when the building is finished. And we can do that with 2. The building code now also requires adaptability, which means that if you have an apartment, a new apartment, it has to be designed that with minor changes, the adaptable unit, the adaptable suite, can become accessible, which is actually a big deal because the space requirements are much larger. So particularly in small suites, it's really difficult to do. And we may be a little bit tight. We may need a little bit more space to get it all, meeting the building code. There was definitely for the building industry, it's another thing that costs a lot of money, so it doesn't help with providing more units quickly, of course. So adaptability is different than accessibility. Right. Yeah.
I'm going to turn on the AC, but it's kind of a challenge because it's going to cause other disruptions to the meeting. But I think we need it.
These 2, yeah. Oh, you can put it. Sorry, I forgot to look at the screen.
Go ahead, Councillor D'Andrade.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to follow up on the parking. I know that there has been talk of being consistent, but we differentiate different areas. We have Upper Gibsons that has some characteristic. We have Lower Gibsons. Lower Gibsons is more geared to tourism. During tourism season, the population doubles. So parking is an issue, of course. And I understand the plan for the app. That could work. But I'm concerned if you live there and you're coming back every day. So I'm just trying to, because there was a comment that, well, we have to be consistent, but an approval on North Road of a building that cost is really lower compared to a higher end. That's what I'm...
Yeah, I don't want to have a debate right now. I think maybe it's the time we should be asking some questions. If we want to have a debate in the final motion, I'm sure we'll do that. But right now it can be just send us down a rabbit hole. Does anyone else have any questions? We do have a whole pile of options here. Thank you for all the different alternatives that council, but it's kind of daunting too. I think we should probably ask about some of these things to better understand them. Did you want to contribute to that, Councillor Kroll? Some are recommendations or requests from certain places, like the heritage Society, which I think we should probably address.
Yeah,
Go-
no,
go ahead,
I was
Councillor.
going to make a motion to move this, but there are items like the.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask those questions first.
So
Like,
could
let's
we
just
could
ask some of the
knock Some of the
questions.
stuff off the
Well,
smorgasbord.
yeah, it's going to be hard. I think, but let's,
For example, item Q, require an accessible suite. It's already in the building code that has to be provided, so why are we adding to it?
Vote one by one?
no, I mean, if we want to, we're going to miss the hockey game for sure then. I'm just joking, but one, like, so what I was going to suggest, though, is just to start by asking about some of these things, like whether they're viable or not, whether they're easy. Like, I think we need to have that conversation, right? So, I mean, I'd like to start with, like, some are just from the OCP, I don't know, and some use the words like consider, like, I wonder if some are redundant with the OCP, like if shouldn't these things be like, if we have an OCP that says, consider solar energy on a new addition, isn't that already being considered? I'll go to Councillor Lumley.
In your vein, Mr. Mayor, maybe we could quickly just scratch everything off that, like, we're not debating each one, but maybe we could just scratch things off that are, or ask planner if there's things that are also covered in other areas that don't have to be attached to this. I'm not sure.
I'd like to, first, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know. There's the Heritage Society asked about the bump out and address that as being quite important. And I assume that Mr. Luxton was already in touch with them about their priorities. And I'm just wondering if that is still an outstanding one. What was the, from your perspective, what was the hang up there in terms of incorporating
it's not
that?
difficult at all.
Okay.
Like, we actually found all these requirements, 1 to 6 on the 5.1, quite reasonable, and most of them we just say, yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so everything from the Heritage Society works.
Yeah, the only thing they asked for is that they rather not have the skywalk, but we can't take that out. I mean, we designed it, of course, as they have impact on the design. We just thought it shouldn't take away from Stonehurst in its appearance. So we would make it glass and modern. You see that a lot when you try to preserve heritage.
Now, do you have the recommendations in front of you that have options all the way from A to Q?
Yeah, items 1, yeah.
Does anything jump out at you as something that you feel like you should comment on, or just can't be done, or council may want to reconsider rather than just?
Well, item 4, the referrals. I mean, we don't know if that's necessary. Quite frankly, the advisory design panel.
Oh, no, it's these ones here.
I'm looking at number 5 right now.
Okay,
That's a really long list. A to Q.
Okay, so the colored-in drawing that I showed you that addressed 5A, grade level pedestrian connection between Stonehurst and the 5 corners via English Park. Then secure public access to the site and cafe during business hours. What comes up there is, again, the parking requirement, because in the BC tourist, Sunshine Coast tourist, what is it called? They recommend, or they strongly like it, that the Stonehurst is open to the public and that they can enjoy a cup of coffee there. But then your parking bylaw makes it difficult for us. So we say in our proposed development, no, it's a breakfast room. It's only used by the guest of the inn, right? And it's not, but you may not want that, and tourism, Sunshine Coast may not want that. But this far, we try to get close to meeting the parking bylaw. Having said that, the Heritage Revitalization Agreement overrules the zoning bylaw and the parking bylaw. So in a way, we don't have to meet it. So we don't have, it doesn't need to be relaxed. And it's maybe a question for Kirsten, but it's
kind of just in general,
okay.
Okay with everything.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So then we go to,
So that's okay, public access is okay.
it's okay with us, but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily
It's
okay.
what we want too. It's what,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody doesn't want.
No, we make you aware of it.
Whole
That
point.
it comes back to the
I'll
parking
go to
bylaw.
staff, like, how can we sort this part out about the parking bylaw? I mean, I guess it being a commercial business, then hence it needs parking, but I'm sure we could figure this out. I mean, people are just
through
gonna
the-
be
yeah,
around in the
sorry.
landing
Through-
and maybe
through-
we'll stop for a tea.
Through the mayor, I can't speak to the planning and the zoning aspect of it, but with the public parking lot that is immediately next door to the site, and if they're providing a pedestrian walkway, I think it would seem very reasonable to waive the requirement for parking just specific to the cafe portion of it. But I think the planners would be able to speak more to what would be involved with waiving that requirement.
Okay, everybody wants to talk. I'll go to Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, as part of this Heritage Revitalization Agreement, the parking reduction will be considered in here, so it'll supersede the zoning requirements. So we can take care of all of it in this one agreement.
Okay, so that we if we just pass this, and that'll give staff direction to take care of it. Councillor Lumley. Okay, well, we don't have time for that. We do have more items too. We've got an in-camera agenda. Yeah. Interpretive signage, obviously, that's gonna be fine. Is there anything, again, I'll leave it to you. You don't have to go through it one by one. If it looks okay, we'll probably put it forward.
No, I
But if
think
something doesn't look, if something's an issue, I think it'd be good to flag that for council discussion.
Yeah, D, consider sightlines for personal safety in the public trail design. The public trail design, I think that refers to the park connection between South Fletcher and Seaview. And that will be addressed at that time, for slowing bicycles down maybe, and that kind of thing. Providing lighting, yes, that's just the night sky comment for sure. Solar panels that would be proposed, if it fits in the total, energy savings of the building. G is consider providing car share vehicle. We like that idea, but it isn't the official car share facilities or organizations that do that. They have requirements, and what I understand now, they do that for buildings that have more than 50 stalls, But the idea that something like that is addressed, yes, we should, for sure. Consider sidewalk connection on Gibsons Way frontage to approve. That is this will come up in the discussion from BC Transit, because they see this as a very important bus stop, because they like it to have a shelter, that it is more than just a bus stop, because they see that people remember that access to the village and to that area. And I guess Bond Engineering would probably be involved with that, to make sure that I went to the guidelines. It's unbelievable how many different bus stops you can imagine for how the buses maneuver and all that. But anyway, so that would be addressed with consultants and with BC Transit. The bump out is fine with us. It's probably an oversight in Van Don Laxton's team. The color scheme we spoke about, that would be negotiated or decided, but discussed and brought to your attention by Luxton and by the Gibsons Landing Heritage Society. The skywalk we spoke about a few times already. The planting, that is against the concrete retaining wall that is built between the lower driveway and your lot 23. We'd like that to be fully covered in climbing plants, like maybe a Virginia creeper or Boston ivy or something like that type of plant. M, the flat roof design. We can certainly show that in a model. Having said that, we know where that comes from, but if you have, I can almost do it with my hands, because if you have a sloped roof, the wall in the room is 8 feet high, and then you slope up, right? And you have a vaulted ceiling, so it feels high. The wall that you see is 8 feet. If you go a flat roof, we probably want to have 9 feet ceilings, because otherwise it feels low. And then the roof assembly is typically 2 feet. And that actually makes the building higher as you see it, because it doesn't have that slope that makes the building feel lower. So we think that it probably comes out of one of our perspectives, but in reality, it makes the building look higher, feel higher, because you see more vertical wall.
Yeah, I think the things that say like consider, it sounds like you're considering them, so it's not, we
Yeah,
don't
we're
need to get
considering
into those in depth. I mean, if.
So
But yeah, this piece about Heritage Inn, securing long-term use as a Heritage Inn, I don't.
That's the covenant that will do that,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And it provides.
I think it's all good then. I mean, nothing's jumping out, right? Like the other stuff is bicycle storage. I mean, I can't imagine you can say that's a deal breaker. I mean, Councillor Kroll?
So from what I'm hearing, I would like to move option 1, including parts 1 through 6 and all the subparts within those items.
Oh, we'll ask about, like, so number 4 has a ellipse, like a dot, dot, dot. So do we need number 4 at all, really? I mean, we've got, so, because it isn't a normal thing to go to the ADP. I mean, do we need, we've already had the heritage, like this has gone through a very, very extensive process, but did I see, did you have your hand up or? No. Somebody did? Okay.
I can speak to it if you want. So this is just for council's consideration. If you want to send it out for more input, you can do that, but you don't have to. So we just put that on there for you to consider, both 3 and 4. So 3 is the public info session. You can decide if you want them to host one, because there will be a public hearing. And then 4 is whether you want to seek additional feedback.
Okay, so 1 and 2 for sure, and number 5 for sure. 4, I think we'd have to think a lot more about if we're going to send it out for more feedback, like where do we need it from and why. I mean, I don't know that it's relevant. I'm not really hearing it from planning or yeah. Number 3, so an open house. I mean, this might be advantageous to have a public information session leading up to the public hearing, because there's going to be a public hearing, correct? Yeah. So for the public to be informed, I think, from the developer's perspective and give them information would probably be helpful. Councillor Lumley?
And I think that follows what basically council's been, that's our kind of our strategy with each one of these things is an open house and information session.
So 1 through 3 and 5. Does that work, Councillor Kroll?
Yes, it does.
Okay, we've got this. Okay, seconded by Councillor Lumley. Councillor Thompson?
Yes, thank
Has
you.
concerns about it, though?
No, I just want to make sure that we're in the whole scope of this, but this is a minor, but it matters, is the original colors, just J. I'm still hung up on the J being worded as ensure color scheme reflects original colors with input, because the original colors are being referenced as gray and brown, and I couldn't imagine any other color than yellow or green for that building. So I just want to make sure that that's being reflected, because I think we all felt that was an important point.
So current colors is what you're talking about, is what you prefer?
That's great.
Yeah, I don't have a we've got people on the council and in the community for sure who are very opinionated on colors. I don't understand what's wrong with the current, but unfortunately, somebody who might have a comment on that in the gallery has gone to the hockey game.
May I?
Oh, is he still here? Yeah, he's still here. Yeah, Councillor D'Andrade?
I asked because I was concerned what original means, because the original was red. And Diana said the original is what's showing on the drawing, so that's what they refer to original.
Oh, sorry, on the on the black and white image.
Oh, the current one. Yeah, they are not contemplating the red one.
Are they not? Because this is so what we have on our drawings is what.
Yeah, well, maybe let them discuss that, because that's what.
Could we maybe just do an amendment to take away J and then leave it? Is that, or do we want to be prescriptive in a different direction? Councillor Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, removing J, or even just saying that I understood that the original colors were gray. So if original color, red and green, okay. There's also discussion of what was put forward was green, so this is what I'm saying, I don't think it's very clear. Because the color swatch suggested the board and batten being green, so I'm confused by J, so I just think that there needs to be more clarity in.
Thanks. I just wanted to suggest, would it solve council's dilemma to say, make J consult with GLHS on color scheme, but ensure a colorful outcome? I don't know. I just added that bit at the end. Consult was my suggestion.
There's the Stonehurst and there are the buildings behind it. So what are we talking about? You're talking about the buildings?
Stonehurst.
Yeah.
Stonehurst.
100% Stonehurst.
It's not green. It was
Okay,
red.
so
You can just vote on this right now.
right now we have a motion before us that includes J, ensure color scheme reflects original colors with input from GLHS. And we'll be voting on that with that included unless somebody wants to amend it. Okay, Councillor Lumley? You want to remove it and then just leave it?
I would like to remove it because we're voting on this. And Councillor Thompson. We're voting on the rendering in the report that's been provided by the architect, which Councillor Thompson just said she liked these colors, like that match, yes, that. That's what we're voting on right now, right? So if we remove J, this will be the color scheme, is that correct?
Good question. I thought it was just more flexibility than saying that it had to be heritage and we'd have to.
Well, so what Don Luxton did,
Yeah.
his colors are heritage colors, and he matched them as closely as he could to the existing. So he actually, the report from Don Luxton is like what we're proposing.
Okay.
Your heritage society would rather see the original colors.
Okay.
So
So I think you're correct, Councillor Lumley, that if we remove J, then that,
J, this one.
that one.
Yep.
That's what we
Those
end
are
up
the-
with.
Those are, from my understanding, Mayor, those are heritage colors that, I get is close to what it is now, but they are heritage colors and there will be a heritage building
Yeah.
with those
Okay.
colors on it, so yeah.
So an amendment has been proposed to remove item J from number 5. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion on that? Councillor DeAndretti?
It's not on, I have a question.
Is it on this amendment?
No,
Okay, we're going to vote on the amendment.
Oh, the
Is there any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. So that J has been removed. Go ahead with your question, Councillor DeAndretti.
with regard to, sorry. Oh, the trail. Sorry, I forgot to ask. Is it something in the trail that cuts the town lots? Is it included as an amenity, or
No.
who will foot the bill?
No. So the proposal is only for what's on lot 22, right? Because we're working for Babak Bafreshi. So but there was a question, can there be, by BC Transit, can there be an interesting walkway that connects the two, or BC Tourism, And so then what we wanted you to be aware of is that lot E, like your lot 23, that is zoned commercial, is to the, can you show the line there?
So, Mayor, I'm not referring to this, I'm referring to, on the top of.
Oh, from Billy's Walk, yeah. Well, that one is designed to be implemented, yeah. And there's a little bit of a curve in it, because otherwise we can't make it work. It's not totally straight.
I understand, but my question is it included, is it an
Yes.
amenity that the development it's providing on town land, so the town won't have costs?
No, the town will not have cost, no.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, sorry, but that's, yeah.
Do you need to confirm that, or, yeah?
No, it's a separate issue.
Okay, go ahead.
With regard
Officer.
to number 3, it says, and that the applicant be required to hold an open house to, and you have to choose, it's either just to inform
Okay.
them or it's to consult, if the difference being
Oh.
whether you wish to accept the feedback in some formal process. If it's just to inform.
We
don't-
definitely talked about a public information meeting. That's what we were talking about when we put forward the motion, so that'd be to inform. Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, we're having the public hearing, so. So that was my take on that. Any further discussion of the motion? Which is items 1 to 3 of the option 1, with the addition of 5 excluding item J. All those in favor? The motion carries. Is there anything more on, okay, planning?
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. For clarification, that motion did not include K and M, the contemporary, or are we just including them, but they're considered, so that's fine?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything more? Okay, we're done with
No, thank you.
this item. Thank you. And now we have a motion on our agenda to close the meeting, to go in camera, under sections 91E and I of the community charter, which are listed on the agenda page. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? We are going in camera.